We get how uncertain the future is. We've come of age in a complex world, face to face with problems we didn't create. So what's gonna happen next? We are. Because our future is the future. The life we have chosen has prepared us for this. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day. We're going to save families from disasters and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more because we have an appointment with destiny. We invite you to join us. The next greatest generation is now.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to our second installation of a Championship Sunday here at the Rally Cry Collegiate Series for Rocket League, presented by Army National Guard. Galgan and Relic back at it again with the coverage of today's action. We've whittled the field down from 12 teams to 4 in this particular weekend, and as the rest battle for points in what should be a fiery race to the playoffs in a few weeks' time, we've got some questions to answer and some teams to get to providing said answers. The semifinals are upon us, Relic. What did we see yesterday? What are we most excited to see today? And how are you doing?
I'll answer the last question first. I'm doing great. I hope you're doing great. I hope everyone at home is doing great as well. In terms of the other question that you posed, well, let me take you back 24 hours where we were thinking ahead to today and thinking, well, who are we going to see in this semi-final stage? I imagine we might see Boise State overall, one of the top seeded teams in the entire competition. I imagine that we're likely to see Oakland University as well. They were the two only new teams heading into yesterday, but only one of them remains, and we will get to that in due time, of course. But the big question really is, or maybe one of two questions is Boise State really up to the task of taking it all the way to the grand final and beyond? Or potentially, shall we see Southern Miss Coca-Cola go one step further than they did a week ago and take the big old W and the 100 points to go with it?
So many questions to be answered, but one thing is for certain: these players have a lot on their mind when it comes to what they're playing for here in the Rally Cry Collegiate Series. The prizing at the end of the line is a hard-fought endeavor to get to that stage, but take a look, a total of $30,000 spread across several titles here for our players taking place in these events. Rocket League obviously fixated on that $6,000 prize pool, and again, this is weekend number 2 of 4 of the closed qualifiers to get yourself a better spot going into the playoffs and a better chance at getting the lion's share of that $6,000 prize pool.
And of course, the most important thing to recognize, however, is that $6,000 is very much locked behind closed doors. In order to even have a chance of picking up that aforementioned lion's share, Galgan, you need to get yourself into the playoff bracket. And that's not for another couple of weeks. It's why accumulating points during these individual bracket weekends, we can call it league play if you like, folks, that's what's most important for the moment. And the good news for all 4 of these teams, of course, is that they're picking up a heck of a lot of points. In fact, some might argue that that would make them safe already, but we are only approaching legitimately the halfway point of that league stage. There's still a long way to go, and you want to make sure that you've counted as many of those chickens in a row before you eventually go and send those eggs off to market. But it's time for us to head to the market of Rocket League action, Galgan, and we do start off with the aforementioned Southern Miss Coca-Cola, and they're no longer damsels in distress, I don't think. They are the damsels that dare to defy. It's UT Dallas.
Yes, indeed. What magical play we saw from them last weekend. Even though we only saw their opening series against Drexel, took it to 7 games. I feel like in a small sample size-esque simulation of what you think UT Dallas would be capable of, you go, they went to game 7 against Drexel, struggled to close that one out. Maybe this team doesn't quite have it. They then go immediately into a matchup against Maryville, one of the boogeymen, I guess, if you can claim them, of this particular event, and take them to 7 games with the series lead after 5, UT Dallas. So you really can't write them off. They have this air about them, this ability to make their opponents play how UT Dallas wants to play. And that's something that I parade for any strong Rocket League team to be able to do, is to dictate your own pace. UT Dallas is one of those teams that'll make you second guess things, but you are correct in pointing out that Southern Miss Coca-Cola, on the other side of things, they're the team actively being chased. They came into this weekend with at least a 50-point gap over any of the other semifinalists that we have here in this particular bracket, and with so many points especially being spread out towards that grand final rather than the third place match, winning here is crucial.
You'd think that with the points that they've already accumulated up until this point, worth considering that you're going home with a minimum of 25 today. That on top of what they've already accrued from last week, picking up second place. You'd imagine that they're probably going to be safe in that playoff bracket either way. But then on top of that, of course, your placement in the points table also dictates seeding. So it's not even a case of just get the points, you're safely in. Bob's your uncle, throw whatever cliche you want to into that particular juncture. But you do really want to go on, kick on, grab as many points as you can, because the last thing that you want heading into that playoff bracket, Galgan, is to go up against Maryville or Boise State or any of the big hitters, because you'll run towards that lion's share of the $6,000. And it is a decent sum. It's going to be over before it's really even begun. And so this is, again, just another stepping stone, but an almighty important one.
And you bring up Boise State as well. They sit in the other semifinal, of course, to be played off camera for now, up against those Pescados of Fisher College. Certainly going to be an interesting match there. And to clarify for everybody just what sort of points are on the line, the minimum that any team finishes with today for losing out here and in the third place match, 25 points. It's 40 on offer for that third place finish. And then the grand final, 100 to the winner and 60 to the person who finishes as the runner-up. But I believe we are going to have a slight delay getting into this first matchup here between Southern Miss Coca-Cola and UT Dallas, making sure that the players are absolutely ready and raring to go as soon as they hit the field. Before we get into it, though, let's hear a quick word from our sponsors at the Army National Guard.
People want to define Gen Z, but that's our job.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
We get how uncertain the future is. We've come of age in a complex world, face to face with problems we didn't create. So what's gonna happen next? We are. Because our future is the future. The life we have chosen has prepared us for this. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day. We're gonna save families from disasters and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more because we have an appointment with destiny. We invite you to join us. The next greatest generation is now.
Well, welcome back, folks, to the Rally Cry Collegiate Series, presented to you by the Army National Guard. It's your boys, it's Relic, it's Galgan. We're waiting upon our first match of the day. It's a semi-final, however, it's a biggie. It's Southern Miss Coca-Cola. They're going up against UT Dallas. We haven't really talked much in the way of score predictions, nor have we talked in particular about any of the players, Galgan. So rather than going for the average, oh, what's the scoreline? Oh, I think it's going to be 5. Which player do you think has the best chance of pop-off ability in this series?
This is a tough call. I feel like there are easy answers for both teams, but it kind of depends because early on, when I think of Southern Miss Coca-Cola, what drew me to that team so much was the roles that each player took on and how well they executed on each side. But I think if you had to pick one player on Southern Miss Coca-Cola that would stand out, just try and will the team forward and completely run over everybody, in my head, it has to be Melodic Misery. I think what we saw last weekend was that capability of pulling off individual plays on the offensive end that, yes, they're not always the most high-value sequences for a team and for a player as an individual, but if you're going to give the ball to somebody, that's kind of what I want to see as sort of the jumping off point for inspiration for Southern Miss Coca-Cola. Even though, I mean, if you want to talk favorites in this matchup, how much, I'll flip this question back at you. How much are we going to like UT Dallas's chances here? Because yes, we know that they took down Oakland to be the only team here in the semifinals that goes against how the seeding was laid out. You know, Oakland being the 3 seed, UT Dallas with an upset there. Versus last weekend, we saw them against Drexel, and it was still 7 games. It wasn't the most confident series. Do you think they've gotten leagues better over a week's time, or is it just showing up to the big matches?
It's so difficult to tell without seeing what their training schedule or lack thereof is, right? And that's something that, I mean, even without a training schedule, sometimes just getting that first week out the way can immediately take the pressure off your shoulders, and you naturally play better because you feel that like you belong in the bracket. So yes, it was an upset in the quarterfinals. Let's not beat around the bush here. That was 100% going against the form book. However, I think they've got a good squad here. I think that they want to play the right way of Rocket League. And I think looking at what their opponents are bringing to the table, as much as they are incredibly good at each of their roles, they also play within those defined roles, and they don't really stretch much outside of that. And that in of itself is an element of their play which can be exposed. I think we talk about Astro, for example, who is the most experienced player in terms of that very top echelon of Rocket League. Had a couple of ventures into RLCS, more well known as a rival series player, second tier for those people who weren't there. Go learn your Rocket League history. The point being that he no longer has that ability to just completely bamboozle the defense 7, 8, 9 times out of 10 when he gets into the final third. And he's actually taken that responsibility. He stays as that anchor. He stays as that creator player. Sometimes he might venture forward if the push deserves it, but more often than not, he's going to be the one who is isolated and shouldering that responsibility at the back. It's up to UT Dallas to expose that, or rather to turn that confidence and that calmness into a flaw. How they go about it, that's not my job to decide. That's for the coaches to try and figure out. But what I'm saying is that there are opportunities there to try and find a way into the goals first and foremost. And I think that's what's going to be most important for UT Dallas, not so much the defense.
So you bring up the coaches, though, which is a very interesting point, because we had this conversation last weekend where we were talking about Oklahoma Christian and the fact that we realized that Bass from the past was the one coaching the team, and that changed things up a little bit, you know, realizing that mental dynamic was going on. Pretty impactful person sitting in the coaching chair for the side of Southern Miss Coca-Cola, a la their official announcement, I believe sometime last week, shortly after the first weekend wrapped up. Mektos is sitting in the coaching chair for Southern Miss Coca-Cola, which, yeah, that kind of deepens things a little bit, doesn't it?
That's a name that sort of like it's just rung the bell in the background of my mind. It's like I've just gone through the library books and I'm like, oh, hello. I've not read this one for a while. That's really interesting. I mean, we also know that Bass from the Past, of course, is a coach within this scene as well. It's so interesting seeing all of these different personalities arriving into the collegiate scene, cementing themselves in the collegiate scene. But what we want to know, Galgan, is who's going to cement their place in the grand final for week number 2 of the Rally Cry Collegiate Series. Well, we're at the beginning of that journey. Let's find out together.
I'm quite happy to get this series underway. You could say I'm not upset. Hopefully none of the players are either in any which way of the sort. I'll leave that up to interpretation, and little inside joke will pass. Semi-final underway here, and big implications for both teams. It's Southern Miss Coca-Cola. I mean, if you're not going to, put that kind of pressure on them, they are the runners-up of the prior weekend, trying to match that result, if not best it, with the absence of schools such as Maryville and Oklahoma Christian. We've still got to get through this UT Dallas side, who just seem to always have an answer prepared, no matter how long it takes them to write it down.
Most certainly, although that was a really good opening minute from UT Dallas. They were really up in the faces of Southern Miss Coca-Cola, just lacking that cutting edge. We've seen Zora, who goes by B in this match, scurrying around, looking to create the opportunities, and here they are again, driving into the midfield. It's a 1v1, it's a 1v none, it's all Zora, baby, 1-0!
Okay, quick start, love to see it. The confidence, the poise with the ball in control. Astro dives early. Misery's just caught chasing that play all the way through. Third player not in rotation. Solid start for UT Dallas. Get on the board early and often, make Coca-Cola work for it here.
They are the Comets, and that was a star-studded move, but it's just the opening goal. I had purged my memory of those wagon wheels, but we're being distracted by Zora, who's legitimately come to this game, thrown all the ferocity into 2 great moves. Now, what accuracy and power to sneak that into the bottom pocket. Southern Miss Coca-Cola left reeling.
That's to find an answer quickly, it feels like. I mean, best of 7, we've got plenty of time, as the old adage is repeated time and time again. The UT Dallas continue to be as oppressive as possible. Dez with another touch here, high up off the ceiling. And Southern Miss have to continue to rotate through, find these touches. No real power clears. The best they can do is force it to the corner, where somebody's waiting to get it started. Oh my goodness, it's a hat trick within the first 2 minutes.
Baffling, truly baffling. By the way, if anybody wants to correct me that this is not Zora, please do. We've got 3 players noted down for this roster, of which Zora's the only one that's not being represented on the field. They're going to feel pretty silly that they are calling themselves B if that is indeed the case, because Zora's name is plastered all over this series early on. The only person to score, it's 3 goals. Southern Miss Coca-Cola yet to even find one opportunity. Here's one, far post, but a little too far past the post.
I've got a confirmation for you. It makes a bit more sense that it's B, given it's Luby, but...
Luby, okay.
But Zora will happily take all the credit for UT Dallas' success in this series as long as they keep winning. I would do no differently, so I'm right with Zora. I'm happy to, if you just want to shout out my name too, I'll shout out your name as well. We'll pass it around a little bit until everybody scores a goal against Southern Miss.
There you go. Thank you for the clarification. A reminder to all players, make it easier for us, please. It's not difficult. Just change your name before going into the game. Half time. It's come and gone. And really, aside from that one look in net, Southern Miss Coca-Cola just have not gotten themselves out of the freezer. We're not on defrost. It feels like they really are chilly, but not in the cool and sunglasses on sort of way. It's chilly as in they're looking a little bit stagnant. They're looking quite hard to defrost, honestly, and everything that they're now throwing at this backboard. UT Dallas, they're comfortable. They don't have to get out of their comfort zone.
Dalton with a pop-up, couple of misses. There's a chance for Zap for a free pot shot at the crossbar, but of course it gets saved aside by Dalton, who's now screaming back the other way. Transitions look strong for UT Dallas. Southern Miss, on the other hand, they have to find themselves demoed in their own zone. It's a struggle to get anything cooking here offensively when they can't exit out of the blue half of the pitch. Zap tries to get anything aired out here for Astro. But again, they just have to back up and wait for UT Dallas to make their first, even second touch before Southern Miss could even think about getting a sequence going. Astro goes just wide.
these solo second touches that are really bamboozling Southern Miss. And eventually they're going to figure it out of UT Dallas, but whilst the going is good, they're going to try and get this one over the line. And they've only got 70 seconds to survive now, looking pretty good for the moment. Case in point, manages to get not just past one, but two as well, although Zap gets a piece of it. The ball continues its trajectory onto the backboard. It wastes more time. Down the other side, Melodic Misery, the first time that we've really said their name, 1v1 against Luby, manages to hammer it home. There is literally 60 seconds on the dot to find another two, just to equalize.
And listen, if there's any credit that I'm going to take, it's going to be on an opportunity like that. It may not have been the prettiest solo play, but if Melodic Misery is going to be the one to try and will Southern Miss Coca-Cola back into these games, back into this series, obviously they don't want to be in that spot in the first place, but I would back Misery to be able to do it more often than not. That being said, UT Dallas don't seem like they're slowing down anytime soon.
Luby, and immediately after picking up the 100, it goes to waste. What a shame, but it's all hands to the pump now. Big miss from Luby, but Dez is on target. Zaf puts up the save. Dez going for the follow-up, manages to win the challenge. Melodic Misery at the near post, finds a second touch. Luby off the bar, and it's still gonna go in. It's goal number 4 for Luby.
And they've put a pretty little bow on this first game of the semi-final. Unfortunate touch there on the clear attempt, and Astro gets removed from the picture right as the goal gets tapped home. It's a neat finish here for UT Dallas. A comfortable one, a confident one. And this is exactly what you need from a team like this, who you always tend to joke about, oh, gotta go to Game 7, Masterclass, win it at the last possible moment. I don't know, something feels different in the air today.
Less and more The Kaiser Chiefs have found a bit of a discord, and you could say that the Melodic is indeed in the misery. In fact, Southern Miss Coca-Cola very much in the mud. This is, at least from what I'm gathering, Galgan, the type of UT Dallas performance that we kind of imagined when they went up against Maryville last week. We didn't see it, but we could only imagine. Well, our imaginations are being just put on paper and put in front of our very eyes, and I gotta say, I'm enjoying the show. Did they take advantage of a great first half? Yes. But did they also hold on, and did they also score a goal in the second half? Also, yes. They did not lose a single point in that game.
That's so true. Did they also play one game of Rocket League? Yes. Sorry, I'm looking at it very simplistically. But at the end of the day, there was some discombobulation, some discord, it felt like, on the side, as you brought up, for Southern Miss Coca-Cola. Hopefully the team can speak with one another and figure out a game plan moving it. Sorry, I let that one linger way too long. Game 2 on the way. I do have a question, though, for all of my UT Dallas believers. Is the Game 7 Masterclass meme, does that live on if UT Dallas get an early series lead? Like, does it just transcend everything? Because in my head, it's kind of like, oh, UT Dallas have to be, you know, barely hanging on in the series, and then they win it in the last moment. But it also kind of seems like they can win the first 3 games, and then for content, they'll just let it slip to Game 7 because why not? So, I don't know. My jury is still kind of out there.
Do they want to be version 1? Is essentially,
Right.
I realize, of course, an org that no longer exists, but I think the legend of version 1 still very much still lingers in the air. If I was to ask any of the UT Dallas players, what would you want to do? I think they just say, let's get the sweep. And I kind of feel like they don't want to let it run away from them at this point. I was kind of half joking, but I'm also kind of not. They really capitalized on a slow start for Southern Miss in that first 2.5 minutes or so. The fact that Luby was able to hit every single shot for good to get as much value out of that as possible, fantastic. And yes, okay, they conceded 1 goal. It was a Melodic Misery, not exactly a masterclass, but it's the sort of goal that we would expect them to score in a 1v1 scenario. This is going to be a real tough test now coming into game number 2. It's not going to be a repeat performance. At least, I don't think it should be a repeat performance, but I think they're going to have to work a lot harder for their goals this time around.
See, I'm glad that you asked UT Dallas what they wanted, though. They said they wanted the sweep. That's all well and good. Would you believe Southern Miss Coca-Cola said the exact same thing to me?
No
it's
way.
kind of crazy. I don't really believe in coincidences like that, but sometimes you just have to have faith. And for Southern Miss, Coca-Cola, my word, that ball gets saved away with an absolute laser under the bar. But that's kind of the start you need. Light the fire under yourselves. And okay, it's still 0-0.
That was a true box-to-box move. Dalton from one end of the pitch with a phenomenal save right down the other. Unfortunate not to get the goal, and Luby just caught out a little bit at the far post, was not able to tap it in. First minute comes and goes. I think both teams wiping a bit of sweat off the brow there. Quite fortunate not to be at 1-1, or even worse, 1 down. And we've got a bit of confusion, a bit of spaghetti junction there on the backboard for Southern Miss Coca-Cola. Up in the sky it goes. It's a miss by Astro. Uncharacteristic, really. Southern Miss Coca-Cola, you can tell that they're rattled, and Luby up in their face, well, they're shaking it.
All of this pressure, though, trying to get a goal. Not yet for UT Dallas. Des recycles from the corner. Beautiful second touch, but a demo onto Dalton is going to slow things down as Luby doesn't really have the position to launch that ball with force. Zaf, no boost, doesn't matter, is left alone, unfettered for the most part on the side wall. Goes out to Melodic Misery. Bang to the backboard, waterfall down, but Luby picks it clean right before it gets to the danger zone. Zaf with a recycle again from the corner as both teams try to get this extended bout of offensive presence. UT Dallas make the transition down the sidewall again as both teams vie for control of the middle lane.
There's no control over the boost, though. There's so much of it being used by both teams. But that is Dalton's first, and it came off a beautiful pass infield by Dez.
And it's great work. Again, 2 defenders gone early for Southern Miss. Last one, Astro on the goal line. Just has to put a hand up and hope that a save comes through. Goes into the middle of the net. It's the safest place, but not to be. Beautiful pass, beautiful shot through. The clinicality from UT Dallas on full display, but Dalton can't get to the better side of that ball. And Southern Miss send it back.
That's real unfortunate. Thinking a little bit too much about how the shot was going to happen. That's a little bit more like it from Dalton, who forces a save out of Melodic Misery, although it was going a little bit short of the post. Dalton, now there's another shot saved, snuffed away and thrown away. Dez to throw right back into the center. Return to sender, you might say. Lick the stamp and send it. No postal service here, though. Southern Miss Coca-Cola looking to try and disrupt those postal lanes as much as they can, even still. Trying to find any sort of purchase in the orange half. It's difficult. They spend maybe 1 or 2 seconds there before it's thrown right back to their own half.
And so much of the difficulty here spawns in the transition. UT Dallas take advantage once more. It's a second goal with just outside 2 minutes to play. Look at the chaos wrought by that one simple push. Everybody caught up on what will happen to the ball immediately, not ready to mark the next shot taker. And UT Dallas take full effect.
From the Lone Star State, but there are no Lone Stars on this occasion. It was all Luby in game number 1, okay, but this is a far more comprehensive performance. Here I was thinking it'd be harder to get their goals, and it is, but they are stepping up to the challenge, and then some. It's Zaf now, down that left wing, but again, just harassed by, again, UT Dallas, not giving them a moment's edge in this contest. Astro, that's on target, a rare foray upfield. Melodic Misery can only go sideways, and before you know it, there's only 90 seconds left of this one, Galvin.
And even a slower response there from UT Dallas, but they're still confident enough to get as any save away as they need to. The real problem for Southern Miss when you need somebody to peak individually just to get a chance or 2 on target. And even if they do peak, somebody from UT Dallas is able to get a save, a clear, some kind of delaying touch away. They found another gap where Dez jumps through and forces Melodic Misery into the air early. But about 60 seconds left, and it's all UT Dallas the whole way. They may not have the third just yet, but even the mere presence of them sitting in the offensive zone is enough to make Southern Miss stumble.
It's extraordinary work, and there's Dez again who came flying in. The communication is spot on for UT Dallas. The setups are sublime, and even though it's a little bit less of a worrisome scoreline for Southern Miss Coca-Cola, I mean, it's still worrisome, isn't it? I mean, goodness, they're down by 2 goals, and now they're down by 3. Shut up, Mr. Commentator. Just let UT Dallas do their thing.
This is just getting messy in the best way for UT Dallas, but everything that Southern Miss has tried to do has resulted in them scrambling on their own goal line. They've set themselves up with no momentum to clear the ball. It goes back to the beginning of game one. The best they could do would be get it to the corner and hope that someone from UT Dallas isn't able to set something up on the follow through, but all of that hope is not amounting to anything right now for Southern Miss. They're finding themselves demoed, strung out when it comes to boost, way out of position, and it's all starting to fall apart. Could see a clean sheet here in game two.
What did I say?
Okay.
Everybody knows their roles, but one-trick ponies aren't so welcome in Rocket League. Melodic, their one trick is that they do score the goals pretty darn good, and this was a decent 50. Catches out UT Dallas upfield. It's on target. The result was inevitable, but Galgan, that's 2 goals in 10 minutes. It's simply not good enough.
I don't know, Relic. I don't want to. That was kind of rude for Melodic Misery. I like the goal being scored, but could you have done it like maybe not a half second after I said UT Dallas would probably get a clean sheet here? And almost nags a second, but not able to grab it. UT Dallas going to have that 2-goal lead to exit game 2. How confident are we feeling that this series ends quickly? Because, I mean, if any team you feel like has the power to make a comeback, Southern Miss Coca-Cola is one of those rosters you have to consider, but you hit the nail right on the head. It's been an extremely slow crawl into this offensive stance for Southern Miss. They don't feel like they have the pizzazz necessary to make these games the true contest that they need to be.
I didn't realize that Southern Miss was in fact sponsored by Disney because they're Sleeping Beauty right now, Galgan. We know how well they can play, but we're not seeing any of that translate onto the pitch. And usually I'll say, you know, they're looking a little bit off the boil here. They're looking a little bit janky there. But on this occasion, I have to give all of my praise to UT Dallas. It's the way that they are playing, and it's literally what I was saying before. If they could identify the pain points in that Southern Miss rotation and exploit them time and time again, they're going to have a lot of joy in the offensive third. Astro, barely mentioned his name. I don't think I've even said Zach's name once, maybe in game 1, but it's a distant memory already. I'm so impressed. Every player on the scoreboard now, every player looking dangerous when they get forward. This is going to be a huge effort. Don't make no mince about it. Southern Miss have to get their act together, quite frankly. Otherwise, this is going to go the way of a sweep.
And I think the problem for me is that there are a good amount of offensive sequences that are memorable for Southern Miss in the series so far, but not for the sake of them providing the best possible play, more so for the sake that we have not seen the offense fully realize their potential. And so all of the opportunities that they do get stand out for a mere lack of quantity of high scoring chances. They've had opportunities to send the ball up out of the corner, out of the side wall, something that we've seen before. Astro connecting to Zaf, Melodic Misery with a big play. Here's Zaf now to try and start one up 30 seconds in, but it just goes begging to the near post. UT Dallas are happy to just sit here, and there's a complete standstill at the midfield line as Southern Miss is waiting for UT Dallas to play the ball to them. UT Dallas is waiting for Southern Miss to try and take a shot on target. It's just a full-on waiting game.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? The waiting game for me is exactly what's going against Southern Miss right now. And actually, I'd quite like to see them, quite counterintuitively to how a lot of players want to play Rocket League, I'd like to see them slow it down. I'd like to see them invite UT Dallas onto them, because right now they're looking for those quick transitions. And because they're getting closed down so aggressively, the 50 goes well in favor of UT Dallas as this one heads off the crossbar. It's another shot onto the woodwork and back into the corner it goes. I just feel if you're going to catch UT Dallas out upfield, as Melodic has done a couple of times already, you've got to take that risk. You've got to try and harbor a little bit more possession.
I just don't understand. Every single touch from Southern Miss, and what a shot from Dez to clean up on the transition. Every single touch from Southern Miss offensively seems magnetically attracted to a car from someone on UT Dallas. It is an unreal level of defensive just stop. They have a wall built around the perimeter of the box. Forget about the goal line. The ball just hasn't gotten there. And it's a crazy difference between these two teams right now.
But even then, you know, Southern Miss, you've got Melodic Misery, who's in a rather more unfamiliar anchor role. You know, they are the third person in that rotation. They've got to be a little more calm. And you say, oh, all you got to do is be a little more calm when you're 2-0 down in the series. Okay, I get it, but this is the difference between winners and losers in this series right now. Gauget and UT Dallas looking the only winners in this contest.
Oh, but the cute passing play there. Melodic Misery blocked early, picks up the boost. Or goes possession. Astro takes over. Luby up off the ceiling, and another awkward touch from Melodic Misery here. Has to play that one back into the hands of Zaf. UT Dallas not too keen on immediately pushing the advantage, and Zaf plays a nice second touch to go up on the back wall. Can Luby get the save? Of course! But Zaf cleans it up. That was a must-score opportunity for Southern Miss.
But that was far better. You mentioned the sort of miscued touch by Melodic at the beginning of that move, but what it does is exactly what I was asking for. It keeps possession for Southern Miss because UT Dallas are still running around trying to rescue as much boost as they can. And eventually, because those defensive frailties are slowly but surely unlocked, it gives the opportunity to overload and eventually get that goal which equalizes.
So we are sat here halfway through, just over game number 3. Southern Miss feeling closer than they have before to bringing one back under their belt. The Dez with a quick turn at the sidewall, trying to formulate something for UT Dallas. Double commit that you've got to squash out from your own corner, but a fortunate pinch will at least make Dez back up and take the challenge against Misery. So it's not all hum and glum here, doom and gloom for Southern Miss, until Luby takes to the skies, gets bumped away. Dalton screaming for the shot, ball squeaks through, but no final touch in.
Very close, but not quite close enough, it seems, as Luby watching brief there in their own half. Dez with the quick turn, limited boost, but there's another 50 in favor. Dalton there ready to meet another one, this time from Melodic Misery. What a great challenge by Luby too, but this time around Dez was in that anchor role, ready to throw downfield, and throw downfield they have most certainly done so, but they've actually ended up all completely miscommunicating. Luby takes it too far wide. What a great opportunity, but that one's been spurned.
Both teams drew up the play in their head. Both had to change the plans and had to improvise, and it didn't really work out for either. Demo on the side of Southern Miss and no goal on the side of UT Dallas, but they've still got possession. Big stretch for the double, canceled out. Misery was in a good spot to try and cheat forward for it, but it's been robbed 3-on-1. Astro has a whole lot of work to do, but the shot is fluffed from Dez. Now set back through the corner. Luby has to rotate. They're both contending for that mid boost, so Dez will take it instead. But now going to have to be the lead defender. Plays aggressive there from the midfield line, and UT Dallas starting to turn now. The demo's unlocked, the shot's coming through, but a big early save there could keep Southern Miss in it.
The machine is worrying, but look, Southern Miss is getting a lot more combative, and I do enjoy these bumps and demos. It gives them a little more space to move up into the midfield, as we've seen a couple of times already. Here's Astro to initiate the next charge, although Luby's going to throw to the side. Zap wins the race to the ball, top of the box, misses the touch, infield dangerous. Melodic Misery stopped by Luby, gets that second touch, moves forward with aplomb. No boost, he's got support, and that's defended well at the corner. Southern Miss continuing to defend. Astro back to the corner. Zap looking for an escape route, and they find it.
It's one last pop up into the air. Melodic Misery with a tap to the top corner. Double connects. It's sent into the post by UT Dallas players, but they continue on to overtime. You have to feel like, disregarding the fact that we made it to OT here, this is the best that Southern Miss have looked in this series thus far, but the icing needs to be there on this cake. Otherwise, what a mountain to climb.
Well, this is a great moment. They've got UT Dallas on their heels, but a big clearance by Luby downfield, and the win, and it's on target, but Zap was rotated back in. Dez, Luby far post, and it is offset post. Melodic throws it downfield, and Dez recycles the play. The artillery batteries are reloaded. Another salvo incoming, maybe. No, it all stumbles all over itself. Southern Miss now looking for another chance themselves.
You can see, though, that UT Dallas had the green light, and maybe they jumped it a bit too quickly. Zap, good second touch off the sidewall. Gets Melodic Misery a bunch of space to play with the center pass, but Dalton keeps it close to the ceiling with no boost in the tank. Centered up for Dez to tap to the back wall. Look at Luby cheating for it, but in to pick it off is Zaf, and Astro connects on a quick 1-2, which is crucial for Southern Miss. Those passing plays, wherever they take place on the field, need to connect. Astro gets another chance, but it's sent now over towards Luby, a bit too far and away. Southern Miss will get another chance. This one's lobbed towards the bar. Dalton deals with it well. Melodic misery for the challenge, but look at the backup here. Need to watch yourself if you're Astro. This is a tough ball to get moving.
There's a lot of standing starts here with the pop-ups, and that's favoring Southern Miss Coca-Cola. They've got, technically speaking, better players in terms of starting from nothing. UT Dallas really seeking that momentum, and momentum they most certainly have infield. Astro hands it off to Dez, but bit of a miscue here. It goes sideways. Dez not going to be first there. Called off by Luby, dangerously into the center. Dalton not willing to risk it for the chocolate biscuit. Forward again. Astro with a big touch away. B, that's going to be off the backboard where Zaf tries to find his way into the center of the pitch. Does so somewhat successfully, but again, it's back into orange hands.
UT Dallas, though, kind of have to watch themselves with how much the first attacker commits to the play. Dalton spent so much time upfield with zero boost, finally grabs the mid and will be the first in line for this particular sequence, and does a whole lot with it. 2 gone. Zaf all out of sorts, but a demo onto Luby slows down the follow-through for UT Dallas. Dez still relevant, so is Dalton. They collect at the corner. Can anything else be done? Because now Southern Miss have that strong defensive stance. They can break out of the zone how they want to. The problem is Southern Miss Coca-Cola, they have to take advantage of a situation like this. You're not going to get too many balls to drop there towards the top of the box, and they can't find it there.
Oh, they're past one, but again, Southern Miss Coca-Cola, their rotation is just a little bit sped up now, and the playbook has been read. They understand the dossier! Oh, almost at the top post. Melodic misery back into the center. Whip. Finally, Dez throws it with the Hail Mary downfield. All 3 players pushing up. Zap going for this right-hand side escape, and they do so, but they run out of boost on the transition. Dalton looking for Luby, hands it straight to Astro. It's off the bar, and it's away again. Back into the center, surely in. No, it's off the bar again. Astro, no way!
Absolutely unreal, and it's all for naught. Melodic Misery taps it home, and Southern Miss Coca-Cola grab their first win of the series, 2-1, still in favor of UT Dallas in this best of 7 semifinal. What a sequence to close things out. You see, I mean, you would consider the defensive peak of UT Dallas kind of their hand being forced at the end. Southern Miss Coca-Cola, it takes everything in their power just to get one of the most crucial goals, perhaps, of this entire series, as now the tides can potentially start to shift.
You know, I had so much faith in UT Dallas after that save that it just wasn't going to go in, that I just stopped commentating. I just stopped talking. I presumed, how foolish was I, that it was just going to bobble away somewhat. But fair play to Southern Miss. What I really enjoyed is that as UT Dallas pushed up the field, they tried to secure those opposition 100 boost pads, which is your natural chokehold end game resolve, right? That's exactly what you want to do in an overtime situation. Limit your opponent's ability to defend and transition quickly. But Southern Miss were really quite successful in protecting their 100 boosts, and that has what is allowed them to transition. They didn't, for the first time really, it feels, in 5 minutes, they didn't expend every resource available to them to get into their own final third. And because of that, they have the resources to, again, commit UT Dallas to outrageous saves, but they're also able to turn on a dime and get that open net opportunity. Big W in the pockets of Southern Miss now. But that's only game 1. They are still behind by 1 in the series, and UT Dallas looked every bit as good as they have in this series thus far.
The thing is, though, I like that you bring that up, that Southern Miss Coca-Cola handled their resources very well in Game 3, because I think on the other side, I started to pick up that UT Dallas, I mentioned them having the green light and going for it. It felt like they banked on that a bit too hard in some circumstances, where they just sent their lead attacker in. It didn't really matter if they missed the shot and had a poor recovery coming out of the blue net, because UT Dallas didn't really feel pressured on the counterattack. Southern Miss, even though they didn't have the strongest of counters, you could see that because the resources were in their tanks, they were able to sustain sustain just a little bit longer and throw off the expectations of UT Dallas. Now, a touch like that ideally ends up on target, but it's interesting to see what Southern Miss Coca-Cola can do from a position like this compared to when we started the series, where they had 1, maybe 2 shots per sequence before UT Dallas found a very comfortable clear away.
It's just about finding some calm in the storm, honestly. That's been their biggest issue. They were almost, it's like they've turned up to the wrong genre of movie, but finally they're nicely seated, they've got their popcorn, and they are eating. Oh, they are eating good. That's Melodic's 4th goal of the series, but it's their first go ahead since that overtime.
Just run it back from the overtime goal. Again, it's the defensive stretch from UT Dallas. They do everything that they can and that they should be expected to in a sequence like that, including the last-second save from Luby that just goes out to the top of the box. It's punched home. There's your goal. But how much can UT Dallas rely on this, you know, somewhat passive defensive state and just getting the miraculous saves? Southern Miss Coca-Cola now have proven essentially twice in a row that no matter what kind of saves UT Dallas can pull off, they understand how to rotate around each other, Southern Miss, to get shot after shot going through. That's a turning point for this series.
It most certainly is, and it's not gone by my notice that UT Dallas is feeling a little more fragile, shall we say, in the midfield. Southern Miss Coca-Cola just seems like they've kind of figured out what their game plan is, or the lack thereof, rather. I think that's a little bit harsh on UT Dallas, but it was very much go fast, brr, score a goal, and now it's not so much. Now they're kind of ending their own half. Southern Miss Coca-Cola exuding a lot more confidence, and I don't see this 1-goal lead going away anytime soon.
Well, we've got 3.
Never mind. Oh my word.
Really, it's been during these weekends and during these tournaments more so often than anything else we've done together that players just consistently want to prove us wrong. I'm very happy for that because, you know, they're just out here playing their game, doing their best, and I will constantly support that no matter what. But just for once, I'd like to sound like I kind of know what I'm talking about. And, you know, the players, they don't have to listen to me while they're playing. That would be absolutely insane behavior. But maybe they could help out just once. You know, once in a little while, just throw me a bone, I think, and we can come to that agreement. That sound good?
Well, we do have news. I'm actually going to steal your role from previous weeks.
Oh.
We've got ourselves a result, folks, and it's a dominant one. Boise State, perhaps as expected, are through to the grand finals, a 4-0 victory in their semi-final. So Pescados moved into the 3rd place playoff. The winner of this series, therefore, heading up against the number 2 seed going into the Rally Cry Collegiate series. They are a dominant force, but as is clearly evident, any series here today is going to be well won. And Southern Miss Coca-Cola is well winning despite only their 1-goal advantage.
Perhaps importantly as well, that puts Boise State clear of every other school that played in the first event, obviously besides Southern Miss Coca-Cola, who still sit here with plenty of points, and Oklahoma Christian, who won the first iteration. But Boise State, I feel like they're going to want to lay claim to the championship in a couple minutes' time. But just for how much longer can UT Dallas toy with their food? I mean, I would assume we go to Game 7 and then they win it in miraculous fashion there. Southern Miss Coca-Cola, though, they've got the lead. They've held a narrow one for all of 4 minutes. And not that the game has been uneventful, but for UT Dallas, the most memorable moments we've had from them have been these fantastic offensive displays. They've really been run against it, though, and kept to their own half more than they'd like to admit.
Yeah, the last minute's been a little better, but they're almost lining up a little too close to each other, waiting for the next shot opportunity. Luby goes for the 1v2, and Melodic Misery again makes that save, but a miss. Dalton on target, zapped with a save, pushed up really far, and boy, did that pay dividends. Demo, Dez misses, Dalton maybe back to Dez, no, completely whiffs the ball, or was it a turnaround? Was it a bamboozle? Do I know anything? Backboard, set up, nobody's there, Dez on target, but too late. Misery's got another save. Oh my gosh!
What's happening? I don't understand anything that's going on right now. I'd have to watch the replay through, but we've got the closeout of this game 10 seconds to go. It's spiked off the own box. Luby goes up for the ball early. Dez has to jump for that and does awkward angle. No control out of the corner. Luby sends it on frame.
No way.
No, there's no way that Astro doesn't make that save, but had to jump from the far side and can't get over in time.
It's to generate that sort of shot from that distance is incredible. But Astro, it's the flip that makes the difference. Goes for the side flip. If it had been the forward flip, there would have been enough momentum on that car to get the save in the end. Tragedy strikes in the fourth chapter of Rocket League here between Southern Miss Coca-Cola and UT Dallas, and it's not over yet. Dez on target, and it goes straight into the palms of Melodic Misery. It's another OT at 1-1.
Yes, it's all a part of the game plan. UT Dallas wakes up in the final 30 seconds and shows us that this is not done just yet. A crazy comeback if they fulfill it. Southern Miss Coca-Cola, they like to sit in this overtime potentially and just kind of weather the storm. Hope that UT Dallas don't have their offensive formation on lock, but why do you let Dalton get to that ball? Double the commit, double the power, clears it all the way back to the UT Dallas zone. But now Luby's just going to run it back down the same side wall. Melodic Misery taps out, but it's over to Dez, who just pops it back to the corner. Set up trying to formulate, but Astro too strong of a challenge.
It's a big clear. They go for the chase. Backboard, but no one willing to throw themselves forward. Zap eventually joins the party. Dez up high. Safety first. It's to Luby, who goes central into the hands of Astro. Maybe no, it's the follow-up challenge that wins the day. Zach loses out to Dez. Round the corner for the setup, it's Dalton. Melodic Misery again, too fast. Too fast are those hands, but are they able to throw hands down the other end? No. Again, that push is snuffed, and it's right back into their own half for another charge.
Still baffles me that UT Dallas consistently play every opponent as close as possible, it seems, and yet they don't feel uncomfortable in situations like that. They'd like to be here, you would feel. Southern Miss Coca-Cola, however, they've kind of tempered the expectations that we had coming out of this final 30 seconds of regulation. Now it seems like the side in blue is a bit more confident, but power clears are the name of the game. Good block by Zath to keep this one up, but Astro backflips. Zath now turns for the ball. Plenty of hesitation here from UT Dallas, but the top corner eludes Astro on the follow. No shot through on target, and UT Dallas thank their lucky stars.
My goodness, they were going for the funny bone time and time again. Southern Miss, it almost pays off big time. Thrown downfield, it's Dalton. Astro forced to cycle back. Zath. That's Luby, misses the touch, crucial. Zath's got no boost to work with. Infield to all of absolutely nobody. Melodic Misery now goes for the chase, top of the box. Solo effort, goes too far the other side.
Dez with a catch and collect. Good challenge. Ends up headed towards that central lane. Luby on the follow through. Here's a demo to clear the path. Slow roll to get it out. And a challenge full of disrespect. Luby says triple match point for the Comets.
It's goal number 5 in this series for Luby. That was a 5-star goal. Mind games. Mind put to shame the defense of Southern Miss. Match point for UT Dallas. And you cannot say, Galgan, that they have not deserved it, despite Southern Miss looking better and better as each game goes by.
It has this air of confidence around this team right now that just, like I said, I made the analogy playing with your food, and that's a little bit of a wild claim to make given how close this series truly has been when it comes to the scorelines, but that's what it feels like UT Dallas attempts to do. I said this even before the series starts. This UT Dallas roster has a propensity to play their own style and force their opponents to adapt. Southern Miss Coca-Cola have done well at times, but as soon as UT Dallas get too comfortable, they start setting up their own plays, getting the power clears. It feels like it's over while we could be the furthest thing from done with the series. And yet you sit here and think, okay, yeah, UT Dallas have this. I don't really know how, but there are only 3 people in the world that know how, and they're the 3 most important people towards UT Dallas winning every series of Rocket League they play.
It's a UT Dallas that is demonstrating a level of ubiquity I don't think I've seen for a very long time. Everybody is everywhere right now, and it's so impressive how they are able to transition and make saves that you would never imagine, whilst also generating the quality of chances down the other sides of the field that you would expect a team in complete control of a series to be making. Now, admittedly, we've seen Southern Miss capitalizing on what is an extraordinary amount of boost usage. This is the throw of the die that UT Dallas is applying to this particular series, but the modifier is doing the work, Galgan. They have found an elemental weakness in this Southern Miss Coca-Cola side, and it just takes one more win on the board, and they got themselves a grand final berth.
So we finally find ourselves in the first opportunity to close out this semifinal. UT Dallas choosing not to put Zora in yet, which I don't really know. I mean, maybe when we get to game 7, that'll be the decision. If they lose 2 on the trot, they need to change up. Zora comes in, has a legacy game with 10 goals, and UT Dallas just win the tournament automatically. They scare Boise State so much that they forfeit. But that's an issue for the future. Right here and now, I'm kind of with you in the sense that I think UT Dallas just want to close this one out. It hasn't necessarily been neat and tidy, but a 5-game victory over the former weekend runner-up in Southern Miss Coca-Cola has a pretty nice ring to it. And UT Dallas, you're going to have to get used to the goal explosions on the blue side because they're not stopping.
Absolutely venomous from Dez and Luby combined. Admittedly, a bit of a confabulation there in the defense where it was basically a double commit. Both players clearly not comfortable going for that same ball, not covering the angles of the goal, and the proof is in the pudding, as they would say. 1-0 UT Dallas. They've got themselves that go-ahead goal, Galgan, but I really do not think that this one is over. I think only a second, maybe even a third, will be required before we start to really talk about that grand final as a more possible prospect.
That really is the question. Luby, though, recycles this and forces Melodic Misery to make the early save. You do start to wonder for Southern Miss Coca-Cola. They played so much of the previous game up by 1 goal and held on to it for so long. Would they like that better? Or is it time for UT Dallas to gain a multi-goal lead? It doesn't matter that Dez's demo. Dalton almost gets a double despite nearly being bumped out of the skies. Dez recycles now to the corner, and UT Dallas scramble out of that very shaky transition on both sides to keep possession alive. Taps at the midfield line. Luby with a double off the side. Astro removed, and everything seems to be lining up.
The last thing that UT Dallas can do now is think too much. There is definitely there's definitely a temptation, isn't there, to burn more time off the clock, but they're doing that by virtue of just playing the way that they are. Why fix what ain't broke? It's gotten them 3 game wins already. And here's Dez looking to find a second goal to secure that number 4. It's another double commit in the back line, allows Dalton time to retreat, but the ball is thrown downfield just to relieve the pressure a little bit. Dangerous from Dez, but there's no pressure on this.
So follow through, eluding everybody. Need resources, gonna pack up just a little bit. Midfield line still held though as Zaf tries to just sit by idly. That goes wide. Everybody's gone from UT Dallas. That has to be the goal. There's still plenty of time on the clock, but we need to be tied right now.
And down at the other end, almost a dangerous breakaway for another open net opportunity. The midfield really starting to open up now. Zach, Melodic looking for demos, finds no bumps to speak of even. They're almost so excited that they're scrambling over each other to get down the other side of the pitch. UT Dallas, it's Luby on target. Armed away, Melodic Misery goes up high, and maybe they do have to take to the skies more often here, but even still, Dez with the bump down, and Dalton brings it under his spell once more.
See, it was a great start for Southern Miss to get into the zone, but it's immediately brought back. They have no firepower once that first challenge goes away, and now forced to lob this ball up high. Dez first to respond, plays it down to Dalton, who's there immediately. Power clear off the corner. Luby comes through in support. Now a couple of jumps, playing it slow for UT Dallas, but they're still getting the better contact. And what a placement there, Zap pulls it from the far corner. Can't get a much better shot angle than that, but lucky to get the save away, and Zap has to make another one.
That's enough warning, but there's a Rule 1 on the sidewall. Oh, surely not Southern Miss Coca-Cola. Talk about being happy with your points total. This is on target. Zach makes another save. Southern Miss, this is either brilliance or stupidity. Maybe a bit of both.
I'm the biggest fan of this right now. Dalton and Melodic Misery locked in bumpers there. The Rule 1, it's a beautiful sight to see every single time. Zap takes to the skies. Luby the first one to respond. Is it a big double here? Tries to get it center for Astro, but has had enough contact on the ball. Now Astro, plenty of boost. Flip reset, no, just goes for the dribble. Tries to bump through onto Luby, but the ball preceded the player. Now Dez with a quick turnaround. All UT Dallas have to do here is hold. They don't need the goal in the closing moments, but they'll sure take it if they can find it. Here comes Astro, 2-on-1. Zaf behind, but Dez picks it off first.
Luby's going to win the race as well. Zath's going backwards. Wrong way, wrong way. Luby takes it aside, and the Rule 1 is broken. The Rule 1 is broken, but a little too late for that, boys. UT Dallas secure a date with destiny against Boise State in the Grands.
You know what? I'm happy. At the end of the day, it wasn't the series that Southern Miss Coca-Cola drew up.
It was not.
I think they'll be okay going into that third place match up against the Fisher College Pescados. But at the end of the day, you'll love to see a Rule 1 honored. Maybe you make the argument because they broke it at the end, they end up losing. I think Zath and Astro kind of let the ball go at the end, but you have to give credit where credit is due to UT Dallas, right?
Yes.
Both teams certainly had their moments, but I think UT Dallas was the more consistent roster here in this particular series, and that's a great sign for them, right? In an area where we're constantly saying UTD, Game 7, they're going to take it all the way, and then they have that on lock. That puts a lot of uncertainty into the air about what UT Dallas is going to do as a team. There really weren't that many moments of thinking, what are they doing? What decisions are they making? What are their communications like? All of those questions were just flipped to the other side. And that's something that a great Rocket League team can do, is make you wonder, why are their opponents making the decisions that they are? Is it because they don't know any better? Clearly not. It's because their opponents are forcing it out of them.
Totally. I said at the beginning of this series, for me, it was not going to be the defense, but the attack that was most important for UT Dallas. You need to be able to outscore your opponents, and outscore them, they did. This was a case in point that sometimes attack really, truly can be the greatest defense. And part of that attacking prowess was because of the savagery that they transitioned from their own backboard into the midfield. Immediately, everybody breaking, forcing Southern Miss to abandon any hopes of capitalizing on a mistake, because there was no mistake to make, Galgan. The ball was in the other half of the field before they could even say, what was that?
It just, so much of this series and so many of the opportunities, I talk time and time again about the level of comfort that UT Dallas displayed as a team. Yes, it boiled down somewhat individually, but as a cohesive unit, the passing plays were pristine when they were present. That was something that we brought up in the beginning of the series. I was like, Melodic Misery can be the individual initiator for Southern Miss Coca-Cola, but Astro and Zath had plenty of connections in last weekend's play that we saw between these rosters, especially against Oklahoma Christian, a team that went through the entire bracket last weekend, only dropping one game. So you come into this thinking Southern Miss Coca-Cola, they have that on lock, just continue, but it's a brand new weekend. It's a brand new day. You have to show up at the time of calling. UT Dallas, they felt like they were ready from the rip. A couple of missteps, but what is Rocket League without a couple mistakes here and there? You can't have completely perfect eggs to make up your omelet. At the end of the day, you've got to work with what you got, and UT Dallas certainly made it work.
Yeah, most certainly, and this really is a great example to other teams as well, that Southern Miss, as much as they can look very comfortable, and although they're very happy with their designated roles, Astro didn't score a single goal. Zath only scored one. And that puts a heck of a lot of responsibility onto the shoulders of Melodic Misery. And actually, the more I think about it, there are hallmarks of that Oklahoma Christian Grand Final from last weekend, where all the goals were coming through Melodic, and that's unfortunately the downside of being so rigid with your rotations, and whether that's something that they're willing to move away from in the future is up to them, whether they have the ability to even do that, but it does place a natural limitation on what they can do, and it allows teams like UT Dallas, who mechanically might not be as gifted, but they have that flexibility to move into a position where they are exploiting those weaknesses. It leads to results like this. Admittedly, this was a lot more extreme a result than perhaps anybody was expecting.
And you take a look here at the simple stats. I mean, 34 saves on the side of Southern Miss Coca-Cola. We can say this every single time something like this pops up. Just because you have a whole lot of saves doesn't mean it was a fantastic series. Was that your defense peaking, or was that your opponents forcing you to peak defensively? That's a question that Southern Miss Coca-Cola may have to answer if they watch these replays back in due time, but not a whole lot of time for them to get ready for their third place match against those Pescados of Fisher College. For UT Dallas on the other side, a 5-game victory in this semifinal propels them into the grand finals of the second weekend of Rally Cry Collegiate Series Rocket League play. Your bracket nearly finalized, save for the grand final score. Boise State awaits UT Dallas in a matchup that is sure to bring plenty of fireworks.
It most certainly is. Boise State, of course, they've got that 4-0 sweep up against Pescados, and Pescados will now, they'll be fighting out for the scraps of third and fourth place, but greater things await us on the other side of the break, folks. We have that grand final. It's going to be super exciting to see what UT Dallas can bring to the table. Boise State, for the first time on stream today, will they show the sort of venom and destructive power that we witnessed on Saturday? Well, there's only one way to find out. We'll see you on the other side of this.
We get how uncertain the future is. We've come of age in a complex world, face to face with problems we didn't create. So what's gonna happen next? We are. Because our future is the future. The life we have chosen has prepared us for this. So we're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day. We're going to save families from disasters and feed those left in the cold. We're going to do all this and more because we have an appointment with destiny. We invite you to join us. The next greatest generation is now.
define Gen Z, but that's our job.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire. I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
That time again, everybody. When we get to Sunday, have 2 teams left in the bracket and everything to play for. Championship Sunday Grand Finals time here for the Rally Cry Collegiate Series with Rocket League, presented by the Army National Guard. I am Gaugan, alongside Relic. You know us well by now, hopefully, and some other people you know pretty well by now. Our 2 teams about to face off, even though one is technically a fresh face to the Rally Cry Collegiate Series as of this weekend. Boise State really needs very little introduction. UT Dallas, on the other side, I think we have to start putting our due faith into this roster that they can provide the results necessary. Relic, what kind of test stands in front of them here in the grand final? They can only hope to find out.
Well, they're going up against a team that has not lost a single game this entire tournament. 4-0 and 4-0. It really is as simple as that. But UT Dallas have been repeating the same scoreline as well. 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. Forget game number 7. It's all about game number 5. So that informs my conclusion quite succinctly, Gaugan. If they don't win in 5 games, then UT Dallas will lose the series. It's written in the stars. That's just how life works sometimes.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. I feel like the law of repeating the same length of series. I mean, there's also something to think about with the fact that Oklahoma Christian got through the entire bracket last weekend, only dropping 1 game. Granted, they played 1 additional series, but that is in the past. The past is in the past. The future is here and now, old man. It's Boise State and UT Dallas in the grand finals of this second weekend of play. The Lions' share of 160 points for playoff qualification on the line. We've said it a couple of times. If you get to this stage during at least one of the weekends, there's a pretty good chance that you automatically lock a playoff bid. But UT Dallas especially, I think this is a very crucial series for them because it will get them closer towards a top seed in the playoffs. Give them, hopefully, I mean, theoretically, a guaranteed 2 series wins in playoffs before they start facing what they would consider to be their true tests. So I don't know about you, but I feel like UT Dallas has a bit more pressure on them to perform in this grand final, but at the same time, they could also go, we're playing against Boise State. We know who it is. Let's just see what happens.
This, to me, Gaugan, is the series where we find out just how legit UT Dallas is. We can look at that Maryville result from last weekend and say, that's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? But Maryville still won, so order remains as it should be. But here today, if they take Boise State to Game 7, then I think we are looking at a genuine top 4 contender once we hit the playoff bracket. Long way until then, of course, given. But this would be a huge step in the right direction.
I'm just saying, don't tell the fans out there UT Dallas might be top 4. They will tell you that UT Dallas is at the very least top 1 in this field. And you know what? If they win a series like this, I might have to start believing them, honestly. I think it would be fantastic to get to Game 7. Then they can finally sub Zora in, as we've all talked about. And the legacy game comes in where Zora scores 30 and UT Dallas lose 31-30 somehow. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Game 1 of the grand final underway, and it's UT Dallas already trying to get a strong start. The Boise State's defense will not go quietly into the night as they quickly transition out.
No, indeed, and this will be the sternest test of the entire bracket. Boise State play a very similar style of Rocket League that UT Dallas enjoy at the very least. And it really will be it's just going to be a diff. It's just going to be a diff. But it's the Des diff that gets things started. UT Dallas lead in Game 1.
I'm just sat here going, we're a minute into the series. I'm going to hold my reservations until we get further in. I'm just gonna say, what are we doing there? We're all pushing up to the middle of the field. We think, like, we see it time and time again from top teams.
No way.
You trust your first player to get such a strong clear, and 99 times out of 100, they don't. But the one time that comes through, UT Dallas have the lead.
It was a mistake from Woozy. We do see it. UT Dallas capitalized on the mistake. It's what they've been doing so well throughout the entire bracket run, and indeed from what we were seeing last week, although I would go on record as saying quite confidently this is a big step up from last week. The team in general looks so much better, and Boise State have looked threatening on these counters. They look very good indeed, but quite frankly, UT Dallas have got them dancing around their fingertips. It's a second goal for Dez.
Everybody say it with me. 1, 2, 3. I just, some things you just try to explain in the moment, and it just, I understand the scramble defensively, and I need to stick with your point. Okay, we're okay. Held my breath there for a second. UT Dallas looks so much stronger this weekend. Not to discredit what they did last weekend, but, I've got to play both sides here and understand that this looks like an insane improvement over the span of 1 week in the very small microcosm that we have of these competitions. We know what they're capable of, but clearly something is different in the water. They are out for blood, and by all intents and purposes, they're grabbing it this weekend.
Oh, forget the nerves. They are looking like a team that is vibing to the music. And Luby's given the length and breadth of the field, dances over one. Preston intercepts the second touch. Dalton moves forward as Luby rotates out. Demo, quick turn for Luby. Infield, Durtho reads it like a book. Now for the transition downfield, rides up the wall, but there to meet it, Dalton and Dez. And once again, there's no threat.
It's Dez to cycle through, just trying to push Woozy out into an uncomfortable spot with no boost. Durtho tries to read early, crossbar down. I hear a third? I do not. Preston saves it right before the bell rings as Dez can't find the challenge. Now a second miss. Durtho happy to just take the first to the bar and read it all the way through. Confident the no touch was coming, and confident as ever Boise State grabbed their first.
Yeah, first moment where UT Dallas are really caught with their pants down, unfortunately, and Durtho in the 1v1 situation, looking super confident, really never in doubt, and especially given the style of goal that we saw him score yesterday, we know that this is a man who does not buckle under the pressure. 1 goal game, sub 2 minutes to go.
The nice pass down, however, forces Woozy to jump early. Good second touch from the back wall. Would have been dangerous if left unattended. Now a nice follow through from the sidewall, and both teams generating power shots off the transition is something you're going to see as the series continues to develop. You don't want to give those opportunities up. Dalton has to force that one into a back pass with Dez. Now Boise State look for a bit more of a clamp and remove the person in the way. Dalton gone, Preston scores, and we're tied.
Yeah, you can absolutely tell that Boise State was starting to move up through the gears, constantly rotating back in, sharp turn, sharp turn, sharp turn, and the UT Dallas defense simply couldn't deal with it. I was going to say literally just before they scored Gaugen, this is a case of survival now. UT Dallas have to get this one across the line, scratch that. They've got to score another goal now.
Bright lights can be intoxicating but blinding at the same time for a team that dares to chase them. And UT Dallas may have tried to jump on that momentum train a bit too early. Boise State attempting to bring them back down to earth as the initial shot goes wide above the crossbar. Now sent back on a back pass. Durtho collects. Nice touch to the back wall. Bang! It's a big save from Luby, but the follow-through from Preston is just as powerful, and the double has the angle, but not the direction. Magnitude is one part of the equation. Boise State bringing every bit of force with them, though, as Luby scrambles for a save.
How on earth did they make that save? It was impossible to read. The complete redirect that shot took at the end of it all. 30 seconds left on the clock, and UT Dallas, quite frankly, either want that goal or they can't wait to see overtime. Either way, 0-0 on the clock is the goal in either case. Woozy now goes forward, looking more and more likely for Boise State. Look at Dalton Maroon there in the middle. Absolutely nothing to say further in this conversation. It's another one. Durtho ran a corner. It's the full turnaround. 3-2.
He's just sat there, menacingly. He has a free parking space and nobody's coming to give him a ticket. What a tap home on the odd angle. Like anybody from UT Dallas had a chance to take it away. And they've mounted the comeback with 7 to play. Do UT Dallas have anything in the tank? Surely. The initial touch goes wide. Dez can't get it centered. Dalton one last tap. The shot is not fast enough. Challenged away, set by the wayside. Boise State, a mini comeback here to start the series off.
Vroom, vroom, vroom. Boise State hit top gear just in the nick of time. I really do think that was a proper 50-50 if they had hit overtime. I think that's the reset that UT Dallas desperately needed. Unfortunately, the clock did not favor them. It was lady time in favor of Boise State. It was Boise State in favor of Boise State, to be real with you. What a turnaround. And the form, you could just see the playbook being opened, and they were turning the page and going through so many different motions. For UT Dallas to have hung in there for as long as they did is in of itself an impressive feat. But just like Thanos, the result did seem inevitable.
Oh, see, that's the thing. I don't necessarily want to draw it up like that, but in my head, I go to the conclusion that it kind of feels like the older and younger sibling, potentially, messing around, having a bit of a scuffle, a bit of a fight. UT Dallas throws a little too hard as the proverbial younger sibling, and Boise State, okay. You know what? We've had our fun. It's time to end this. Now, it's only the first game of a best of 7, as I say far too often, but it rings true here because there are opportunities for UT Dallas to continue that kind of momentum. Obviously, you don't like to see this early flash of momentum sort of peter out, and as you say, their best chance, UT Dallas, is to hope for overtime, to try to push it to extra if they can, delay the inevitable Boise State offensive aggression, but they don't want to be in a position like that, and it's well within their own right to take themselves out of said position. Boise State, meanwhile, on the other hand, if they continue to try and dominate the resource game, really lock their positioning down, UT Dallas might have to continue to hope for overtime and try and scrap through these tying goals.
Dallas really have to try and block off these passing lanes, and I think they might have to cut them off at the source. They need to try and find bumps, ideally demolitions, to really throw the rotation out of whack for Boise State, because their ability to bounce back is rather impressive. Very dangerous helter-skelter moment for Luby there, but the ball is sent straight back into dangerous territory. It's in the D, thrown away by Dez. Durtho, scorer of 2 goals, of course, in that first game, holds the ball up beautifully whilst his teammates go back for resources.
I think what makes the difference as well for Boise State, their reads on these clear attempts for UT Dallas, not necessarily jumping at what the ball is exactly, but where they think the ball is going to end up based off of the initial touch from a UT Dallas player. It's something that you can't necessarily teach players, but Boise State have it on lock. Those predictions, they don't always find the touches they need, but it's more so about generating pressure against UT Dallas and making them think twice about how to clear the ball away from the danger zone. That'll waterfall down, but Luby blocks it aside. Woozy now sends back to Durtho, who's back off the back wall. Preston sends it low, but unfortunately right in the center of the target for Dalton to take away.
We were very close to a "oh, shut up" moment, and it comes to Durtho again, mechanical magician, but he can't hit an open net, Galgan. That was the go-ahead goal moment. They're going to have to try and reload for another chance, and it's these follow-up actions that Boise State are absolutely bossing the opening 2 minutes with right now. UT Dallas have done very well to keep it at 0-0, but a 2v1 this situation is again squandered.
Finally get this chance though, midfield line, Luby with a decent hold against the resources committed by Boise State to get that clear. So now Dez will have a bit of space to work forward. Luby, nice touch from out and then back in across the midfield line. Dalton goes to the back wall, keeping it high and inaccessible for Boise State. Now water falls down, but Durtho clears before the shot comes through. Dez went on the off angle, was not successful. This is a slow pop headed towards target, but Dez deals with it. Everybody in the air somewhat for UT Dallas and struggling to get back into position. That leaves it prime and ready for Woozy to tap home.
They were all stranded on the backboard, and Dalton, that's an awful place to have to defend the net from, coming in from not even the side, but from the corner. That's 2 lips of the goal mouth that you can stumble over. Was it coming? Of course it was. Boise State should have been 1-0 up maybe a minute or so ago, but UT Dallas were kind of the architects of their own downfall, and they should be now 1-1, but again, it's woodwork that denies one from going in.
It's a shot opportunity that you look back at with regret, but you have to wipe the memory clean immediately and move on to the next chance. For UT Dallas, they're doing just that. Big clear into the corner. Dalton chasing to try and steal some boost away and grabs a decent amount of pads. Dez gonna go for the shot anyway, and it's a huge block off of Woozy's attempted save. Bertho with a clear attempt, but UT Dallas look to establish themselves here as Dalton fades away on that one. Dez has a lane open because of the demo, but goes well across the net and rings the opposite side.
Very unfortunate, but again, unfortunate needs to turn into goals either which way. When your luck's against you, you simply have to grind out the result, and you got 90 seconds to do that, UT Dallas. That's 2 goals, by the way, not just the one that they need to take it to OT. Dalton goes central, the handoff to Louis, all on his own, but again, Preston stands tall. It's a follow-up challenge back on target. Woozy at the near post, back in centrally, and Woozy, once again, so much alertness and vigilance about him. The transition to Dirtho, backboard, double tap, no, it's thrown away by Luby.
All of these chances come so close, but close won't cut it for UT Dallas. They've got to have that decisive it factor. Preston wants to take this one away, past one and a challenge with the second, but Dalton wins it convincingly, sends it to the corner, follow through from Dez. Anybody send it a tap home? It's Dalton who's lurking there, and Luby, slow to the play, now comes in from that anchor position. Bertho with a beautiful touch there, the redirect off the back corner all the way to the end of UT Dallas. They've got 40 seconds, time is ticking.
Love that from Preston, taking the high ground. Dirtho a little late to this one, however, can only get a piece of the ball. Really smart from Luby, keeps it low to the ground. The attempted bump, Preston says absolutely not. Here's Dez, moves to Luby, goes, he's hoping that Dalton was going to be able to finish that move off, a little too smart for the play. But here's Dez again, goes far post, and Preston stands strong, stands tall yet again. Dalton misses out on this one, and Dirtho completes the transition into the far corner.
Still a great sequence, and they've got one more shake at it. Luby, no boost, has to stretch every bit of that Fennec towards the ball. Preston trying to kill as much time off the clock from the back wall, and does so successfully. It's Boise State. You could say they squeaked out another one, but again, it's a 2-0 series lead. Close is not going to cut it for UT Dallas here. They need to have some level of decisiveness when it comes to these opportunities, because they've had their chances. They certainly have. But painting the woodwork is not going to get you anywhere against Boise State.
Boise State is 1 step ahead of them at the moment, not as far as 2. I do think it is genuinely this close, and I don't think that even had Boise State scored all those chances, I think UT Dallas crafted enough chances themselves to justify that ultimate 1-goal differential between the 2 teams. But you hit the nail on the head. They don't have enough control over the micromanagement of the game, really, to justify ever being ahead. Equals, maybe, but this is that final step that we alluded to pre-series. Can UT Dallas make that comeuppance into the elite level, or are they going to have to settle for being just a very, very good Rocket League team? I will put it out there, though. If they do get swept here, Galgan, that will be unfair on them. They do deserve at least 1 game out of this series.
I have to agree with you. They've done enough, it feels like, to convince us that they are here to stay at the top of the table, regardless of the result, because we knew coming into this event, even before the first weekend started, Boise State is not a roster to mess around with. They have a clear objective, and it is to win this entire competition. We're not trying to sit here and say that UT Dallas have no way of winning this. It's clear that they've displayed the qualities worthy of taking series off of anyone else in the competition. But on any particular day, you weigh the chances of a team beating another, and there's always a slight favor for Boise State in this matchup. they continue now, despite the fact that UT Dallas keeps it close. Boise State always find a way. In that bottom corner, that's a rough bounce right there.
That's a bad kickoff, sadly, Gaugen. UT Dallas very much gave themselves immediately something that they got to fight back from. The worst possible start to game number 3, and given they were held to donuts in game number 2, it's difficult to see where the comeback is going to come from. In fact, there's the only goal scorer for the team, and that almost putting pain and salt into the wounds, almost a 2-0 as Preston pops it up. Dalton sees through the facade, Durtho goes midfield, and maybe UT Dallas can build something from here.
It's somewhat interesting, though. I mean, you know, there are people out there that simplify the game of Rocket League so much to the point where, you know, hit ball in net, score goal, win game. We've been over this. But, you know, consider the semifinal that we just watched, where it was UT Dallas really dictating the pace of play and forcing their opponents in Southern Miss Coca-Cola to stretch for every bit of possession. I'd argue we have a bit of the flip side here. Boise State looked very comfortable and composed in what they're doing, and UT Dallas, not necessarily because they want to, but because they have to, play a bit more on the reactionary side, where it's find whatever touch you can take and hope that a follow-through makes enough sense for a goal-scoring chance. Well, they had one just about 30 seconds ago that looked very solid, if not for a fantastic save at the crossbar. But other than that, it's been slim pickings.
Sure, funnily enough, actually, I don't think Dallas are looking like a team that's nervous at all. I think that even though they are forced into the reactive role of this proverbial play, I don't think that they're playing badly at all. In fact, they're reacting quite well to what Boise State's putting in front of them. It's that final piece of the jigsaw. It's like they've been given a script, but they've not been given the final line to earn that applause at the end of the play.
Ending a tournament on a cliffhanger would be a very interesting marketing decision. We'll have to try that next weekend and just let people guess what the outcome of the final game is. That, I mean, we'd have to anticipate what the final game is if it's not game 7, but hey, if it's UT Dallas, I don't know, that's one step closer to getting to that destination.
Somebody read spoilers, didn't they? Wow, what a read. What a read. Admittedly, a slice of fortune. You are relying entirely on physics from that 50 to give you the goal. But it is a goal nonetheless. It's a tie game here for UT Dallas. And a game where they're desperately trying to deny Boise State that match point scenario.
I think they'll take it, though, especially considering the one Boise State goal in this game was a squandered kickoff at the very beginning. It's a mental reset for UT Dallas. You know, you go back to that tied game state, it's almost more so 0-0 than it is 1-1 at this stage, but both teams looking for that it factor that UT Dallas really want to possess. Luby wanted that one through, but it's done enough. Dalton just picks up the own touch and scores.
Well, from Des being the only scorer to everybody getting on the scoreboard. And actually, it's that complete flummox of a touch that gives Dalton the opening that he was desperately looking for. A bit too much respect from the Boise State defense. But sometimes you can turn those lemons into lemonade, Gaugen, and UT Dallas have a well-earned lead.
A solid start for them, just over halfway through game 3, but here comes Preston. The bump is in effect from Woozy. What an angle on that challenge. Durtho's still relevant, but sends it to a waterfall rather than straight off the back wall. Looked like he wanted a double setup. Woozy attempting something, double commit up on the near post, at least gets the clear for UT Dallas, and a bit more space as Durtho has to stretch out with boost. Used up in the tank. Woozy jumps early. Good initial block from UT Dallas. Proactive defense necessary, but it still squeaks through to the back wall.
Are you seeing a couple of double commits here and there from Boise State? Now that they're behind, they're starting to question their own confidence in this game, in this series. I mean, they do have time and games to play with, of course, but you don't want to give this UT Dallas roster a sniff. You certainly don't want to be UT Dallas giving Boise State a free net to shoot out either. Well recovered, although given away quite cheaply. Preston 1v1 with Luby, and that's a lovely save from the man who scored the most goals for his team in this tournament.
Certainly a great performance. You had Dalton with the catch and collect, had a bit of space. The team pinch as well to clear that ball all the way through. Woozy gives this one right on back, and it's a bump at the shot. Tough angle to pull it through, but didn't catch it with the right part of the car. And that'll allow Boise State to try and break back out as Dirtho redirects from the midfield line. Ball goes begging. Dirtho first one to it and baits it out. And it's a clear goal line for Dirtho to tie things up.
Mistake after mistake after mistake, and eventually it's Woozy who sees that opportunity, just goes straight for the keeper like a torpedo. And Dirtho, if he had missed, that would have been missing the tournament by a country mile. 2-2.
We're 2-2, late in a game. Tell me where I've seen this story before. Boise State looking for some last-second magic again. Took them up until the 7-second mark to make that game one of this series secure. But could it be flipped on its head? Luby says, thank you very much. Don't give me that kind of space. I'll throw it right back in your face.
Well, excuse me, are we allowed to show this on daytime television? I'm not entirely convinced. That is a disgusting first touch from Luby. The turn and then the drive into the net as well. Boise State has not understood what has happened even post-fact, but now comes the most important phase of this game for UT Dallas. They got 30 seconds and change. Keep the goal out the net.
Oh, a touch there from Dirtho, attempting to try and set up Preston, but it was a bit too far, disconnected from the sequence. Preston now off the back wall, will jump back to the ground, peek to the skies once again. Dirtho's there, dodges the demo. Woozy has to be the one to take the initial shot and just sends it to the sidewall. Dirtho puts back one more time, but Dez stalling out here, taking the ball up into the skies, and another touch clear. Odd angle, does not score, gives Dirtho one last look, but blocked away. There's one last save, 0 seconds. Dirtho forward for Preston. Nobody can immediately challenge, so it has to be a pass down to Woozy, who sends it near frame. It's just wide. Luby takes it aside. So the sidewall, but that's not the touch you wanted. Still kept alive, however, and Woozy will have one more shake. No boost in the tank. Has to go up against Luby and wins the challenge, but Dez puts it down. Much scrappier at 0 seconds than UT Dallas may have wanted, but a game win is a game win.
And you know, the most positive thing for me from a UT Dallas perspective is that was their scrappiest performance of their entire series so far. So many mistakes, and yet they still pull out the win. Now, if they can get that offensive nuance into game number 4, if they can ease out those mistakes as well, massage them out of the play in general, so that the risk reward is more from what we saw in their series up against Southern Miss Coca-Cola, we have got a grand final on our hands. For Boise State, questions to be asked, because that was also the scrappiest performance of the series so far.
That's the only thing that I'm somewhat hesitant on, though, is can we really bank on Boise State to make mistakes on their own like we saw in Game 3 at some points? Because I'm right there with you. You can't really have that level of assurance just yet if you're a player on UT Dallas. You have to be the ones being proactive, forcing those mistakes out on your own. You can't just say, oh, you know, anybody here from Boise State has the ball. Let's just let them do what they're doing, and then maybe they'll double commit. And by the time you've already said that, you've already conceded. So I'm right there with you in the sense that UT Dallas needs to be the one to force out these mistakes, but that also kind of feels easier said than done. They've done it here in the third game of the series, but it's a task that has several answers that may or may not be correct depending on so many mitigating factors.
It's multiple choice psychology dissertation university. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, big save. Almost a repeat situation for Boise State in game number 4 here from game number 3. But at least for UT Dallas's sake, Luby was on and vigilant enough to make the save. It's still a dangerous phase here as Preston throws back into the center, but there's Luby with a release valve.
Finally see their way out. Can they make a quick transition run of it? It's Dalton at the side wall. Decent stance here. Everybody in line, in rotation. Good block from Luby. As whiffs on the ball, however, you could see the vision trying for a center pass. Jumps up early and uses all the rest of the boost in those buckboard wheels to get some extra height. Still won't really fully understand those, but if it works, I am not going to criticize it.
may not be the squeakiest clean plays, but those wheels certainly are squeaky, and they're screeching as they run all over the pitch, trying to disrupt the plays that Boise State attempting to weave here like a tapestry right now in front of net as Boise State push for that first yet again. Big save off to the side as Preston backs up the play, backboard, and that's a lovely interception from Luby. Reads the play beautifully. Durtho goes sideways into no man's land, really. Dalton's up, takes it to the sidewall. Preston now looks at the block here, loses out on the challenge, dangerously lurking towards the net, but ultimately, wistfully goes wide almost. It wants to find the back of the net, this ball, and eventually it will, maybe not. No, Woozy goes fast. No, he doesn't. Goes for the steal of the near post and succeeds.
Great read from Woozy here, though, on the sequence. Saw that Dalton and Luby were caught up in each other, and Luby had no choice but to commit early. Try and get the save away. Just slow roll it ever so slightly. But that patience pays off in dividends for Boise State. They've got their first of the fourth game of this series. High challenge, though, and this could be the immediate answer. Durtho's in the right place at the right time. Dez follows through in the corner and has the boost to win this pace battle and then some. But Woozy stands tall and does it on both ends.
It's fallen so kindly to Preston, who runs up the other side of the field. Durtho was looking for the receiver, didn't get it. Dalton demoed by Durtho. Woozy over Luby. Dez is way out of this equation. It goes backwards instead of forwards. Dalton lines up a Woozy! Sunk!
Yep, that's absolutely drawn up to a T for Boise State. One quick challenge goes their way. Woozy is exactly where he needs to be. Slots at top corner, no chance for anybody, even if they were in the picture. And this is more like what we could have expected from Boise State, trying to peak offensively here. Put UT Dallas in the hole early on and don't let them see the light of day. A demo and a close double certainly give them a fighting chance, but with everybody stacked up in the corner, this is going to be a tough push to resuscitate.
The two teams have arguably gone in two very different directions. Boise State, I should say, have reset their mentals. It seems like they're looking a lot more confident, more like the game 1 and 2 Boise State that we have gotten accustomed to. UT Dallas, the mistakes seem to have doubled, unfortunately, and after that second goal, it's been all pedal to the metal, but unfortunately, it's aiming more for a car crash than a record lap time. It's really all over the place. Goal number 3 on the way. That's a good save from Dez, but they need to readjust their mentals themselves now, Galgan. Otherwise, this is going to become a bit of a blowout.
Again, you've got another situation with UT Dallas waiting on the ground, keeping their wheels very grounded to wait for what Boise State can bring on the first shot. They don't always have the pace to take it away on a clear after that touch. Woozy gets a demo. It's not going to amount to much. Durtho removes Luby as well. So plenty of respawns and not a whole lot of boost to go around on that back line for UT Dallas, but they still find their way out. Luby trying to deke around this ball, goes for the demo instead, but Preston, the patience pays off.
Really important, and now on transition, Durtho over the top of one. Luby, it's Preston again. They are cutting off every passing lane for UT Dallas. They're trying to switch it up, bless their hearts. You can see their adaptability, but they're running into multiple brick walls. Less than 90 seconds left now. Not impossible for UT Dallas, but they need to score, and they need to score soon.
Preston to the skies to try and put the dagger in this fourth game of the series. Durtho jumps very early, so it's going to be Preston to recycle the own touch. Dez gets a clear downfield. No help immediately as Woozy blocks, takes that mid boost, but it doesn't matter much for Preston, who's already racing for that one challenge. Allows Woozy to T1 up, but a double commit and a pinch there from the UT Dallas defender sees it away, but not for much longer. It's immediately brought back in. Boise State are not letting UT Dallas see any opportunities to grab their first goal.
And the late day heroics might look fantastic for UT Dallas, but it's not giving them any time to breathe. Oh, what a dunk on the backboard for Preston. Durtho, it was lined up and set up on a silver platter. Luby was a little too slow to react there, but that is the third. That is surely the game and tournament point in the making for Boise State.
There's a level of comfort that some teams can play with while holding a multi-goal lead going into the closing moments of any game. And it's a telling sign whether or not they're able to park the bus defensively and just hold on to whatever lead they have and finish the game off exactly with said lead, or gain the confidence to go for more and really drive that advantage down deeper. Do I really need to tell you which kind of squad Boise State is? Because they're putting it on full display. They do not care, forcing all of UT Dallas to chase this ball just to concede again.
It's stat padding, but UT Dallas now need to take this moment to recognize where they are going wrong. That synergy is starting to fracture, quite significantly so. As I mentioned earlier, Boise State, the double commits have largely been erased from game number 3. They're a thing of the past. For UT Dallas, the double commits continue to mount up, and I understand that sometimes they're going for these pinch plays, Galgan, and it looks very pretty when it pays off, but I don't think you can afford to utilize that level of confidence, ego, and flair when you're going up against one of the best teams in the competition. Now you're 3-1 down in that series as well. You're on the precipice of being eliminated as second place team, which again, for UT Dallas, this is a great result either way. They've gotten their game win in as well. They've banked it, but they can do better. And their coach and themselves are surely going to be looking at each other saying, I think we can get another game out of this. And if we can get another game out of this, then maybe, just maybe, we can stretch ourselves to the fabled Game 7.
And the only worrying sign about that, I know we like to say, oh, UT Dallas, Game 7, they've got it on lock, they'll get there. This entire bracket of the second weekend of action has had one series that's gone to Game 6, and no series has gone to Game 7. Every other series that's been played here has been a 4-0 or a 4-1. If history repeats itself, we're in for a quick finish here for Boise State to take home the victory in the second weekend of play. But I mean, as much as I want to sit here and say it's over, you know, congratulations, Boise State, there's some last piece of hope that I'm clinging on to for UT Dallas to make this comeback, because much like any other team in this field, I've seen them at their best, or at least I'd like to think that I have. The problem is you've got to piece it together for minutes at a time, for games at a time, for a series at a time. And UT Dallas are struggling to keep pace with Boise State's best in this particular series, which is why they're losing out on so many of these very close plays, turning some 50-50s more into 60-40s. As I don't know if we have an invisible player there. I'm not exactly sure what I saw, but could have just been a glitch on my end. Anyway, Game 5.
Bit of a ghost touch, I think, there off the kickoff. For me, UT Dallas simply have to keep that clean sheet going for at least the first 2 minutes. They've got to force Boise State into a state of mind where they're thinking, we've got to score, and now they most certainly have to score. Luby will thank his lucky stars for this one, but it's a goal. It doesn't matter how it goes in.
I'll take it how they can get it. There have certainly been some scrappier opportunities for both teams, but a nice rivalry off the sidewall, play that proactive style, and UT Dallas jumps out as we disconnect from the lobby right there. We assure you the game will continue on without us until we can get back in, but it's a strong start for UT Dallas, exactly what they need to get things going here in this series. Get your foot in the door, keep taking those baby steps towards Game 7, try to make a difference.
It's an even better start than I was hoping for them. It's one thing to keep a clean sheet. It's another thing to go and grab that go-ahead goal. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room to work with should you concede thereafter, because I think when it comes to Boise State, it's always a matter of when rather than if. I think this is one of the most difficult teams to keep out of your own goal mouth for 5 minutes on the trot, especially in the Rally Cry Collegiate Series. But as we rejoin the action, Galgan, we see that that's exactly the point that I was making, yes.
Exactly. All things in the universe work, you know, in tandem with each other, just making sure that all the stars are aligned so that whatever we say is just instantly wrong. I'm convinced of it. You know, at this point in time, anything could happen. I could say that, you know, Southern Miss Coca-Cola is going to come back to the grand finals, win it all. That's not going to happen because, you know, everything's wrong. But I feel like you could have inferred that anyway. I don't really know where I'm going with this. I think I'm just trying to be wrong for the sake of being wrong. You know what? Let's be right about something. UT Dallas, still in this series, but something has to change about how much they get in the face of Boise State. I mean, can anybody watching say that they do a better job of blocking Durtho on a shot like that? Because I don't think anybody can.
He's been going for that cross-post goal so many times since he was able to score a very similar sort of goal in game number 1, you might remember. And listen, in multiple choice quizzes, if you pick option C enough times, eventually you are going to be correct. And Boise State are looking mighty fine and correct. The ship is stable, the engines are purring, and they continue to motor ahead into this ocean of success and tranquility and beautiful Rocket League. A little too intricate a passing operation there, but 3 minutes to go. They have that 1-goal advantage to play with.
Still good to see they maintain that level of confidence. Meanwhile, UT Dallas, Dez tries to slow roll this one, goes off the side rather than the corner, and it's too easy for Durtho. Preston puts it right into his hands.
He's only got 1 goal this entire series. Give the man a goal, Durtho. Give the man a goal. Goodness me, you've already got 7. Anyway, that's daylight. Forget the 1-goal advantage. That is important to get that 3rd one on the board. UT Dallas, they need a response. They need it mighty quick. But it really does feel like Boise State have got them exactly where they want them. They are able to set up very comfortably on defense. Their rotation is so succinct, and they've got that lethality down the other side of the pitch on transition that makes UT Dallas sweat.
It's still just halfway through. UT Dallas clinging on to any bit of hope that they have left to extend this grand final. Dez has to go all the way back, picked up the 100, but it's not going to mean anything with Durtho screaming towards the ball, has tried to take this entire series into his control. What a passing play. It's teed up for Dalton, however, and there's your goal to get back in it.
I am so sad that this initial shot from Dez was not on target, but Preston's going to have a sore forehead in the morning, isn't he? That is wrong place, wrong time if you're a Boise State fan, if you're Preston, who's going to be feeling even more bad than when he didn't get that goal opportunity with Dez. Anyway, point being, hugely important for Dallas, but they can't concede straight off kickoff. They might still do. Backboard, Dez leaves it to Luby, but still manages to mess it up somehow. Lurks in the air. Luby unchallenged, however. Boise State let them off the hook. Oh, they really do. What?
Yeah, letting him off the hook is one thing. Letting him walk down Broadway is another. But Preston with a musty off the side. And both these teams, just again, we're getting deep into a best of 7, deep into the grand finals. They're both hopefully hitting their full strides, getting as confident as ever. And this is where you're going to see the real flashy stuff start to emerge. But Boise State look a bit too comfortable to allow UT Dallas to try and push in and score this equalizer. There's still not a whole lot of time remaining for them to get it done, and it's the first of 3 match point opportunities, so feels like all the pressure, if ever there was any, is on UT Dallas right now. Another center pass taken away with 60 to play.
1 goal, any goal is the order of the day. That's what's on the menu, but you can't concede one, not now. Durtho with the impossible angle. Luby pokes away. There are people lining up en masse to get a shot on target. None of them really capitalize. The setup for Dez, he runs downfield. Gaugen, it's possible, but is it probable? That is the question.
40 to go. Preston takes away from the corner and beats the first, but here's Dez to recycle. No boost, has to pick up that back corner that Boise State graciously allowed him to grab, but they're too concerned with bringing it back in transition. Luby doesn't find the touch. That's one you feel is necessary. Forced into 2 players from Boise State. Preston and Woozy both chasing each other for the ball. It feels like that would be the downfall, but it's not. UT Dallas can't formulate a push out of their own zone. Luby gets demoed. Dez gets the ball stripped away. One last pass down the field. Dez takes to the sky. It's going to the back wall. 2 commits. Somebody punch it home. Luby, it's on target, but the bar is not safe. A save away for Boise State. One last jump. One last chance for Dez to turn and send this over to Luby, but he's not playing center. Durtho goes off his own back wall, keeps it alive out of the corner. Do Boise State try to add insult to injury on their way to winning the grand final? Preston keeps it alive because why not? Woozy one last touch over to Durtho, and these players are not going quietly no matter who might win. A triple commit on the challenge. Dez keeps the ball alive in the corner. Luby one more center, and it's too far wide. Boise State They come out with a 5-game victory in the grand finals.
Yeah, Boise said, give me the game 5. Oh, sorry, I should say lock in the game 5, but not for them. It's Boise State with the 4-1, which does at least continue the UT Dallas formula of going to game 5 and then the series ends. But unfortunately, they really did meet their match on this occasion. Not to say that they didn't have a good go of it. And I think that with the season progressing, potentially once we get to that playoff, I imagine that both of these two teams will definitely be there, especially since Boise State's locked in the full 100 points, of course. I think if there is a rematch later on down the line, this is a lot closer as a competition than what we see here today. Color me impressed, UT Dallas. Color me scared, Boise State.
I echo your sentiments entirely. I think there's a lot for UT Dallas to be proud of for obviously just at a baseline making it to the second place finish, but continuing to impress us and continuing to get stronger as they go. Because it's not like we want to frame this as UT Dallas being this, young, plucky newcomer who has a lot to prove and everybody to show that they can do. Like, everybody knows that this team can do it. They consistently scrim close against everybody, play close against everybody. You always give them a fighting chance no matter who their opponents are. But I maintain that one of the prime issues for a series like that is that Boise State looks too comfortable. In some of the moments where big mistakes get made and UT Dallas maybe capitalizes on that, you flip it completely on its head. And when Boise State have the ball in their control, far too often you saw UT Dallas with their wheels grounded. They're at the goal line, they're at the back wall, waiting for that first shot to come through. And then what do we do after that? Oops, Durtho just peaked on all of us, and we've conceded immediately. So chances like that, as soon as you mitigate something, UT Dallas make this a longer series. But that's a question for the future once they review what happened here.
Yeah, I think UT Dallas, they tried to go directly toe-to-toe with Boise State, and they lost the foot fight, quite frankly. I would have liked to have seen... I don't know. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more play along the ground. I would have liked to have seen perhaps more in the way of demos, but it's so difficult to ask for more demos when you can see that Boise State is clearly a team that is accustomed to targets on their backs. Like, they are very well adept of getting out the way, readjusting, making something out of nothing. They play Rocket League real good, Galgan. And sometimes when you're in a position like UT Dallas, you just have to accept that if you don't take all of your chances, then you're not going to get the series in your favor.
Yeah, it just, like, as much as we don't want to sit here and say that sometimes it comes down to that skill diff, and you can't necessarily explain every goal that you see here as that skill diff. Maybe that one from Luby you could massively call skill diff, and I'd agree with you, because that sort of performance is something that you cannot expect from an everyday shot. But time and time again, the placement was pristine from Boise State, especially on shots like this from Woozy. Even though no defenders are in the picture, it goes top corner exactly where it needs to be with pace. That's the kind of difference that sometimes goes unnoticed, but makes a world of difference when it comes to how this series is won and lost.
This is higher levels of a CRL sort of series. I'd even wager as saying a lower end RLCS series where if you make that one mistake, you are conceding, Galgan. Like, there's no argument. You are actually going to concede if you make that one mistake. And UT Dallas made too many mistakes. There was a kickoff goal. They had to come from behind multiple times after conceding early. And when you set up that hill to climb before you even cross the field, against a team of Boise State's quality, this does feel like the scoreline, like the result that was always going to happen. But I want to re-emphasize, on another day, with more time to gel, with less mistakes, UT Dallas doesn't just take this to Game 7. They put themselves in a great position to win, to make it a coin flip between these two teams. They should be so proud of themselves, and I'm excited to see what the rest of their growth looks like in the Rally Cry Collegiate Series. And speaking of growth, well, Southern Miss Coca-Cola's growth in terms of points has been confirmed as well. They fought Pescados, who don't win a single game on the Sunday yet again But again, they go home with 25 points. They've accrued enough, I would imagine, to see themselves safely into the playoff bracket.
So there is the wrap-up of the bracket for this particular weekend. Again, a lot of sweeps, couple of 4-1s, 1-4-2, nothing else that we saw that extended all the way to Game 7. So UT Dallas, not quite living up to that part of their history, but maybe next weekend or the one thereafter, as they've got plenty of time to adjust in the future heading into playoffs. This is what we're looking at least as far as the top 10 teams are concerned. Boise State jumps up there with the complete win from 0 to 100. Oklahoma Christian, of course, still occupies second with 100 points, and Southern Miss Coca-Cola slots in third due to the fact that they've got a second and a third place finish respectively. UT Dallas lone fourth place there with 70 points before a whole hodgepodge of teams and a couple down underneath in 11th through 16th that are still at the current moment occupying those playoff spots. But again, those top 16 teams make it. It for some of these teams becomes less about just making it to the playoffs and more about securing yourself a better seed going in, giving yourself potentially easier opponents to start off the tournament and warm yourselves up for the tests to come. But that is an issue for another time, Relic. We've still got 2 more weekends of this closed qualifier and the playoffs to follow after that. I'm sure the action will only ramp up from here.
Indeed it will. Will we have any more new names? Will we have returning names looking to do just that to further secure their seeding for the playoffs? Well, there's only one place to find out. It's right here on Rally Cry channel number 2 on twitch.tv. And how about... Oh, whoa. Sorry, I have news from production. Oh, okay. No worries. I thought there was a tech issue. Never mind me. What I should say is that should there be no tech issues forthcoming for you, be sure to join us right here, same time next Saturday. That's midday at Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Other time zones do apply. And it's basically the same thing we've been doing the last couple of weeks. It's going to be another bracket full of fun. And Galgan, I'm sure that we're all going to be enjoying it yet again. But what would you like to see from next week? What would you be hoping to witness? Would it be a new team rising to the top, or would it be a more established name maybe going all the way instead?
You know, I think we may have been a little robbed. You know, UT Dallas, credit where credit is due, made it to the grand finals. They had to do so by removing Oakland from the field. I'd like to see them make a deep run and see what they can do in a semis or grand finals appearance. Much the same with any other school looking to grab themselves some more points on the leaderboard. But that is a question for next weekend. As Relic said, same time, same place, Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. We will see you there for weekend number 3 of the closed qualifiers here for the Rally Cry Collegiate Series for Rocket League, presented by Army National Guard. For Relic and everyone else behind the scenes, pushing all the buttons, making us look pretty, I've been Galgan. You've been wonderful. Have a great rest of your day.
People want to define Gen Z, but that's our job.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire. I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.